they try to, assist the end user as much as possible, because everything is all about time management, as you know, getting the right information and the product to the customer, right? But at the same time, now you have to try to make the process as seamless as possible.
I also think that some of those systems, the way that they're built, um, they're not necessarily built to ensure that the the customer as we know them gets the best experience. It's really there to provide strategic information for
Mhm.
for the organization to pivot around.
Right.
So you find increasingly that these graphs about um, you know the churn rate on a particular part is more important than making usable screens that the end users
Yeah,
can
yeah,
click.
that is true. Because when you mentioned screens, I can remember that the AS400, every single monitor had this large anti-glare screen on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So, sitting there looking at it, it was bad for the eyes. And I
Mhm.
remember also that almost 90% of the part staff at that time, they all wore glasses. Right? So, persons who work in the part department, they tend to stay there a very long time. And over years, the eyes went bad staring at those screens for a consistent amount of time.
Yeah. And I think when you look at how the industry has evolved, increasingly what you're finding now is that the systems are doing stuff with above and beyond what the point of integration is. So usually you'd be just like, all right, I need to get information from a customer and correlate that information to um, parts or services that I'm procuring.
Mhm.
The systems now are doing sales processing, they're doing form printing, they're doing, you know, historical analysis, they're doing credit reporting, they're doing payments.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're having one system that is trying to fulfill these multitude of functions,
Mhm.
and the end user has to be cognizant of which particular functions are
Yeah.
just for them. um, what would have been nice, and I think that's going to happen in the next iteration of
Mhm.
the software that supports the business, is that um, it's going to become a lot more user friendly on the user side, and they might extend that user experience outside of the organization and give, like, you walking into the store, you're getting a mobile screen to check the information.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Just
then
like what
you
just
might,
like what is happening at the airports. You check yourself in. Yeah.
right, and you might end up having to deal with the same VIN information because the system will not process it out the VIN
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Any which way. So we'll it's I think they're actually um it's a win and a loss in some respects, like you said before, where um some of the things that are related to the industry, they're at the core of the industry, and understanding of the components and an understanding how the vehicles function, and an understanding about what is required in order to do X, Y, or Z, is going to be a little bit um, difficult to translate into the current paradigm, because an oversimplification is what's happening. So
Yeah.
you no longer have those rigors to deal with. You are just trying your utmost best to just cope with what you have there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Fillmore, what I wanted to do was to, you know, take you through the journey from when I started in 1995 till now,
Mhm.
right? Because we know exactly what the system can do now.
Right.
But what I experience in terms of the evolution of the system, right, from a parts perspective, because that was my pet peeve right there,
Mhm.
and most of my knowledge came from the parts department. And what I saw was we moved from the AS400 system, which we were using a system called Dealerman,
Okay.
right? And at the
Mhm.
same time, now new reporting standards came came on us, And Dealerman at the time was unable to give us a lot of the information that was required, which was Excel-based programs, how to calculate formulas, how to interface a lot of the reports over into reporting standards for PDF file and everything. However, when we got ADP, I think ADP is now CDK Global. When we moved over into that system, it was still inadequate based on what we wanted, because back in 2010, we wanted to use inventory management system called the ABC analysis, right? And in Japan, they call it the ICC, which is inventory control conversion. And we couldn't get ADP to do that sort of stuff. So we had to build, we had to get the IT person at the time had to do standalone hard drives, plug into the system. Yeah. And the plug into the system and then try to, link from one aspect to the other. I think at the time, ADP technicians were so impressed that we were able to do that.
Of course.
Right? A lot of the things that were inside ADP were actually realized from us here in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that you should mention that, because some of the segue discussions that happen between organizations that are based on that old platform and how it kind of necessitates a move forward is based on those integration issues. So like the AS400 before, it was really just a repository. What they were hoping when they moved to the Wintel platforms in the 2000s was that the compute power that was at the stations, because now they're using PCs at the stations.
Right? Yes.
As opposed to using dumb terminals that they had before.
Yeah.
They were hoping that the compute power at the stations would allow them to get greater, information manipulation capabilities. And so you find that they built software like ADP and Fraser. They were built on this concept of what they call a thick client, where the client itself has a lot of functionality built into it or baked into it. The problem with a thick client, though, is that it's not very adaptable. So if it needs to do something custom, somebody has to rewrite that client in order for it to do that kind of custom feature. Now, you run into that problem often enough, and you start searching for ways of finding a solution.
Exactly.
And what's happening with the next tier of software now is that they're migrating to sort of like a Web 2.0 platform. It has to be web-centric.
Yes, definitely.
The idea behind it being web-centric or web-based is that if you need to do modifications on the platform, you can do it at source, and it just populates on all the clients, and it's not a heavy installation process to get it done. What we're also seeing is that when you have to build in new features, what the IT guys call APIs, right? Or interfaces into other systems, application program interfaces, it becomes a lot easier on a web-based platform, because we can just write in new stuff. So what you're finding on new systems is a bunch of interfaces into stuff like QuickBooks and some of the existing statutory bodies that need that kind of interaction. Like you'll put in a update for a car, and it will automatically push that information over to like the DMVs in the case of the American institutions. Here it will actually reconcile information with the provincial authorities relating to the car. So you want to expand on that as much as possible. So what the new platforms are trying to do is focus on integration, as you said before.
And I kind of like where we are now, because the technology is moving very, very fast. Now you can you have standalone systems that come from the manufacturer themselves, especially here in the United States, that you can put the VIN number in, and you get a complete history of the car itself, the owner, the service history, everything recommended, the recommended timeline for maintenance is everything is actually there.
That's what's going to make you lazy.
It will, exactly. It has made us tremendously lazy, right?
um, it's interesting because when you look at the old AS400 systems and how they kind of did their processing back in the day, it's almost like we're gone back right to that, because processing in the AS400 was on the AS400 server,
Okay.
right? Then eventually, you did some of the processing on the client side with the ADP type systems,
Yeah.
right? And now we've gone back with these web-based products to actually doing processing back on the server again. Um, the future might actually look a little bit different, because what's happening with us now is the the demark point for the system interaction before
Mhm.
was was the guy at the desk talking to the customer.
Yeah.
The next round of systems are going to extend that out to the customer themselves. So you're actually finding in a lot of these scenarios, you look at like a Tesla right now, and the car will talk to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer will relay that information to the dealers when the car comes in for servicing.
Hmm.
So the extensibility of the management platforms are no longer just a matter of dealer management systems as they were once thought of. It's
Yeah.
now
Hmm.
complete customer relationship management
Hmm.
platform.
Yeah.
And that focus is now becoming a little bit more, you know, targeted. So before on the AS400 systems, it was all about parts, inventory, and service.
Hmm.
And now, what is even more important is marketing, sales, etc.